It's a commonly held truth that people facing a crisis are able to adapt in ways they never thought possible before. So, if you're down and out, then you might well convince yourself that living inside a shipping container isn't as bad as all that, particularly if it's made to feel like it's got some home comforts. This prototype was the idea of a YMCA hostel in East London. It was faced with trying to find somewhere to live for people like Louise, who came to them an impoverished victim of domestic abuse.
It depends on who you are personally. I think living on the streets would probably be a bit more of a dent to the pride than actually living in a shipping container.
If it comes as a surprise that people are making homes in shipping containers in London, usually ranked in the top 2 or 3 best cities in the world to live in, then maybe you should think again. While the economy here is only just emerging, blinking back into the daylight, the property market in London has gone through the sort of growth you'd only normally see in the Chinese economy. Driven by low interest rates, an influx of wealthy foreigners and a lack of housing stock, prices have seen 10% growth and a boom for the construction industry, keen to make the dreams come true for London's young model families. One of the words of the moment here in London is gentrification, the idea that the dilapidated, run-down, old parts of the capital are gradually being replaced into new, shiny-looking places suitable for aspirational, middle-class, hard-working types like this. But the problem is that for an increasingly large number of people, the numbers simply don't work. Supposing these people earn a combination of around $70,000 a year, which is quite a lot of money in London. The average cost of an apartment here is now more than $600,000, and that means the bank would have to lend them 10 times their salary for a mortgage, and no bank in the country will do that. What it means is that unless these people already own a property, they'll never be able to buy one. And if the link is now broken between what people earn and the price of a house, then the ramifications are enormous, not just for the middle classes, but for the whole economy. This huge estate right in the centre of London was due to be knocked down more than a decade ago, and thousands of poor families were moved out while plans were hatched for it to be turned into affordable housing. But the local council couldn't make the sums work, and in the end it surrendered to the developers, who will turn it into yet more million-dollar apartments. This man runs a charity which tries to find accommodation for people who can't otherwise break into the property market. And so the people who were moved out of here when this was scheduled for demolition, you think they're not going to be able to move back in here when it's redone?
There's almost no chance of them being able to move back in here because there's almost no social housing going to be on this estate. So I'm afraid those people have been moved out and won't come here again.
What would your best guess be as to how much an apartment in this complex is going to go for when it's done?
I don't know the figures. A lot of them already been sold off plan, but I mean they are millions. They are expensive apartments. I mean we're 1 mile.
Millions of pounds.
Yeah, they're millions of pounds each. We're 1 mile here from the Houses of Parliament. This is inner London, and this is a graveyard for social housing, really.
There's even steps down into the garden so that the residents of this flat have their own access to their own garden space.
So increasingly the new property bubble means the poor are moved on in favour of the rich. Without any obvious move from the government to stop that trend, one of several solutions being put forward by organisations like this one is to get dilapidated, empty houses before the developers do and offer them to the vulnerable. This one's for battered women.
We should, as a nation, be building more houses than we are. That's the root cause of the problem. But actually, let's use the stock we've got efficiently, or as efficiently as we can, as part of the solution to the big problem. And this is using this stock efficiently to house 2 families in need of somewhere to call home.
The man from the YMCA who came up with the idea of the shipping container as apartment now plans to put dozens of them up in East London. It's both a practical solution to a massive problem as well as an expression of the politics of failure, and he knows it.
I'm so angry I can't even explain it, that in London, whereby we've got such enormous wealth, such opulence, we've got millionaires from all over the world who are buying property up to let out. I mean, most of the property in this borough is now owned by people overseas and then let out at profit. That we've got that, and there's enough to go around. If people shared, if there were if there was justice and fairness, you wouldn't require anything like this. But if we don't do this, there's nothing.
Of course, if you own a property in London already, then it's a different story. It'll most likely mean you can pay for your old age and probably leave something behind. As long as the government's happy to let anyone with money dictate London's housing market, then the bubble won't burst. But in turn, that means the young and the less well-off are being failed by the market, and they will never own a property to fund their pension or healthcare when they get old. This housing bubble will have consequences for children yet to be born. Lawrence Lee, Counting the Cost.